Hello, my name is Alyssa Lovell, and today I'm going to be using the course material to present and analyze the war in Yemen. So, to give a little bit of background, the foundation for the war began in 2011 when there was a political transition between the then president and the current president, Hadi, who struggled during the transition to deal with Al-Qaeda and other economic problems. So then the Houthi movement basically took advantage of this weakness to gather recruits, and in 2015 they tried to take over the government and set off a civil war. Hadi was forced to flee, and then Saudi Arabia became involved, and the U.S. involved indirectly through Saudi Arabia because the U.S. provides Saudi Arabia arms, and they supported Hadi. Meanwhile, the Houthi rebels have the support of Iran. The war is still ongoing, and it has set off a humanitarian crisis in Yemen. There's been many civilian casualties, and then there's also food shortages and problems with a recent outbreak of cholera. So that's a little bit of background. And then this is a map of the conflict in Yemen right now. As you can see in the eastern portion in the blue, those are the areas that are currently being controlled by Houthi forces, while in the west and in the south, those are the areas that are being controlled by the Houthi government in red there. Of course, to further complicate things, the gray areas are the areas controlled by Al-Qaeda, while the areas with the lines are where Al-Qaeda is present, although they don't necessarily have control of those areas. So overall, that's just a picture of what is going on right now in Yemen. So what type of war is this? First and foremost, the conflict in Yemen is a civil war where two sides are fighting for control of the government. On the one side, there are the Houthi rebels who are fighting to gain control and gain power from the Hadi government. In this sense, it's also a total war. They are seeking unconditional surrender from the current government. And then, of course, as a secondary part of all the conflict going on in Yemen, there is also a guerrilla war going on in the form of Al-Qaeda, which is, of course, a terrorist organization. Al-Qaeda is right now trying to gain recruits and gain territory in Yemen amidst all the turmoil that is going on in the country right now, the fighting between the government and the Houthi rebels, and of course all of the humanitarian problems that are ongoing. So they're trying to seek recruits for their ideological war, and then of course at the center of all of this, the conflict would be who is going to control the government. To look at this conflict, we can use levels of analysis. From a domestic point of analysis, the conflict has evolved due to nationalism within the country. The Houthi rebels are the main source of this nationalism. They want to be recognized, and they believe they have the right to control Yemen, while at the same time the government of Yemen is trying to prevent them from gaining control. In the middle of all of this, there are the civilians of Yemen who are caught in the middle between the government and the rebels. They're also facing food shortages within the country and problems of not having proper medical treatment, while also fearing the violence at the hands of the government, another government, terrorist organizations. And then, of course, while all of this is going on, Al-Qaeda is also growing and causing even more conflict within the country. From an interstate analysis, the interests of other governments do play a role in the conflict. On the side of the Hadi government, Saudi Arabia has been fighting against the Houthi movement, and oftentimes civilians get caught in the middle, unfortunately. The U.S. is also involved. They are involved in a direct way in that they are fighting Al-Qaeda, as a part of the war on terror in Yemen. However, the U.S. government is also involved in that they provide arms for Saudi Arabia to fight the war in Yemen. So basically, whenever Saudi Arabia takes an action in Yemen, it's usually using arms provided by the United States. On the other side, supporting the Houthi rebels, Iran has been providing financial support for the movement because it is comprised mostly of Shia Muslims. Not everyone who is part of the Houthi movement is a Shia Muslim, but it was started by Shiites, and that's who makes up most of the movement, and also that's who makes up most of the Iranian government. Also, as a part of all of this, the United Nations has become involved, and the whole situation has caught the attention of the United Nations because of all of the civilian deaths and all of the problems economically with Yemen, which have then caused food shortages and displaced people and a whole slew of problems in Yemen. And recently, the United Nations came out and said that Yemen is reaching a point of total collapse. And so, although the war has been going on for 2 years now, it looks like there's no apparent end in sight for the war in Yemen.